All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us here today at our 20.2 release webinar. We're going to do things a little bit differently with this webinar. Firstly, we have new technology sitting behind us. Obviously, we've all learned a little bit around how we use technology across this year. So we have made the transition across to Zoom webinars. So bear with us as if there is any technical glitches, but we should all be good. As we kick off, what we're going to do is just obviously cover off a little bit of housekeeping. Firstly, if you do have any questions, please throw them in that Q&A section. We'll be moderating that throughout and obviously passing questions to James where we need him to respond and provide some feedback. We also have some company news playing out, so please keep an eye on what's taking place. If you've got any questions about that, let us know. So kicking into gear and looking at the year that's been. So this has been a massive year for Schoolbox. This year has been focused on us looking at how we can best support you through some of these difficult times, but also some of those key features that have really helped us as a business grow and help you as a school increase that engagement. Some of those that I know have been really sought after and have been really beneficial are things like the immersive reader, the new statistics, that priority news that came about from feedback across the bushfires earlier this year, as well as the COVID situation. One of the key ones that you may have missed that's come from our new infrastructure team is that of our cloud storage and cloud backup solutions. We know that schools often have questions, have problems around data storage, and these are providing us that opportunity to help you in a more hybrid way with some of those storage options. There's also been a lot of work done within our professional services team. For those of you that received an email from us a couple of weeks ago, we have an intensive online short course running across February, looking at bringing on board your new staff into that Schoolbox journey. So if you don't know about it, please reach out to your account managers. Please jump on Schoolbox Help and check it out. We obviously introduced the new PD bundles, an opportunity for you as a school to look at how do you, in a more ad hoc and agile way, look at resourcing your professional development for your staff. We also introduced specific workshops around pastoral care, continuous and live feedback, communication and community engagement, and around launching Schoolbox to your parent community. We think these will help just isolate those particular workflows, those particular challenges that you're facing, and how we can best support you through that. In regards to this release, there are a couple of things to be aware of. Firstly, this release will hopefully go beta tomorrow and roll out to your staging instances. Now, tomorrow is our final day here at Schoolbox before the Christmas break, so we thought we'd do this as a little Christmas gift to you all. We're looking at the gold release in late January, so we're aiming to be completed with all of our beta testing by January 25th, hopefully just in time for you guys to be operational in the new school year with some of the amazing features you're about to see. Cloud customers, you'll be automatically upgraded 1 week after that gold release. So we're talking early February. For those on premise, please book in through the usual processes, and we'll be sending out the booking link again once this webinar is completed. One of the key things we're asking is please test this release across January. We'll be putting all of our resources internally into testing what's taking place. And we ask that if you want to try out these new features, come on board early. Please test, please report, and we will be fixing them as quickly as we can. So to give you a bit of a sense before we hand over to the man himself, just to give you some stats around 20.2. So we've been working on this release now for about 4 months, but there's some key features that have been in the pipeline for over 18 months now. Research that we've involved you as a community in getting in play. For those of you that are a little bit nerdy, we've deleted just over 18,000 lines of code and we've added another 67,000. So this is just giving you a little bit of an idea on what we've been up to. So that's enough out of me. I am going to hand over to James and he is going to give us a rundown of the brand new 20.2 release.
Okay, Dwayne, do you mind if I take over the screen share?
Go for your life.
and I'm just got a problem here with one of my packages.
It's never a release webinar if there's not something going wrong, right?
Yeah. So look, let's get started. So today I'm going to take you through some of our new features specifically related to our junior school project, and this is a project that we've been working on for over a year. Well over a year, almost 2 years now. It's involved a lot of research and a lot of effort to sort of get to this point. Specifically, let me just share that screen with you. Okay. Specifically, we've been focused on, how can we track the whole student experience more broadly than just assessments, and that was a key aspect of what we found when we did this research into the junior school area, that we weren't covering all the particular ways that which students were tracked and their success was celebrated in the platform. So today we're going to be talking a bit about what we've done to try and address those issues and made the system much more flexible in terms of tracking students' progress and well-being. All right, so we're going to start with we'll start with the admin system and just talk a bit about what new things we've added into the admin system. That's always the best place to start, I think, because this is the things that you will need to know to get your system up and running as best it can be when you first install this update. So let's go through the things that you need to be aware of. Firstly, under year levels, and as you're probably aware, we've been adding to the year levels area over the last few updates. The idea with year levels is that we now offer configuration on a per year level basis so that you can have more fine-grained control over your LMS settings. In this area, we've done a few things. One, we've added sequencing, so now you're able to sequence those year levels. If you need to change them or adjust them, you are able to resequence those if necessary. Here we've got added a new column, enable cohort comparison. And what this will allow you to do is when you're looking at the student's grades page and you see those box and whisker graphs, previously those box and whisker graphs were generated from classroom data. So just on the class data that we had available. By enabling cohort comparison, that box and whisker becomes a cohort box and whisker. That has some downsides. The first downside being that that graph will no longer show assessments that are class-based. It will only show assessments that are cohort-based. So when I say cohort, I mean an assessment that has come from the course. So only course-based assessments will be able to be measured at a cohort level, but that feature is now available, and you can turn it on per year level, so you can set which year levels that applies to. The next feature that we're introducing for admins is the ability to create a transitional term. A lot of our schools have a period in time where year 12s or year 11s actually transition into year 12 before the beginning of the year before. And that's technically been difficult because we had a situation where we only allowed terms to be concurrent. So you had to have one term after the other. Now with this new update, we can create a transitional term. We'll call this term 12, 2021. Give this a code. And we can set start dates being maybe back in October and end dates being in April. So that's sort of like traditional sort of term 3 to term 4 period. And now the key difference here is we assign this to a year level. So if you just leave this without a year level, it's a default term that's used across the system, and they still need to be concurrent. But if you apply it to a specific year level, you can apply non-concurrent terms to a specific year level. What that will do is all year 12 class folders, classes, will now use this transitional term as their default term. So they'll become part of that term. So if you've got a class, the folder is set to year 12 and the students are enrolled into it, they will now see their markbook, their grades page, all of those types of features will now be filtered to those dates. So October the 1st to April the 30th. So if you've set assessments, say, before next year even starts, the students will still see those assessments when they roll over into the next year because we've set that transitional term. So it gives you the ability to, I guess, create a different way to look at the data just for that specific year level. So that's a nice enhancement for those schools that have traditional terms. And I think a lot of schools these days will have some form of transition at various different year levels. Often requested feature, and I've got a funny story about this particular feature. I was sitting on a plane once, and I was speaking to the person next to me, and they were telling me they were a parent and they had a child at a school, and I was asking them about the system they used, and they were telling me how horrible it was because it kept sending them messages at midnight about their students' work not being handed in. After a few more questions, I realized he was actually talking about Schoolbox, and I sort of committed at that point to make this change. And this change basically allows us to control the default time that an assessment is due. So what was happening was that teachers were not setting the due time for assessments. They were just leaving it as the default. The default happens to be 11:59, midnight, and that would then cause parents to be notified in the middle of the night. So I'm hoping that this control over the default time will allow you to set something more reasonable during more reasonable hours. So teachers that don't set the time are going to get a more reasonable default, being rather than 11:59, you can set that to 3:30 or 4:30 or whatever time you think is appropriate for your particular school. So control over that default due time is now set in the admin system. Moving on, the admin grades page has been updated. So the grades page is where we set all of the grades that you use within your school. This has been rebuilt, but more importantly, it's now been enhanced to have the ability to have 2 decimal places here. So if you want to have more specific grade boundaries, you can now go up to 2 decimal places in that space. So that will become something like that, and you'll get those decimal places are now saved. Okay, keep moving. So next up is packages, and this is the thing I was just having a bit of trouble with. So we've got this package system here, and what we've come up with is we wanted to start delivering you data packages of content that you might be able to use in your system. Save you having to load data, save you having to load all of the new systems that we're building. But you may not want to use our data sets. You may want to build from scratch or build your own. And so rather than using our traditional sort of, either it's empty or it's got everything in it, we're now giving you the option to choose whether you want to have these things installed on your instance. Now, just going through some of these packages, we've got packages here that install curriculum. So general capabilities is a package that we've created that will allow you to load into the curriculum system all of the general capabilities in the Australian curriculum. We later on use that for our general capability badges. So we have badges that are linked to the curriculum, and those badges will allow you to award students the achievement for those particular areas of the curriculum. We have other badge sets available, so you can use all these different badge sets in your system. Let me just see if this is working. Yep, great. Just install a couple of these. Perfect. See if this one works as well. No, that's the one that's not working. That's all right. I can live with that. Okay, so moving on. We've got the packages. We've installed some packages. Now, one last thing before I move out of the admin system is the ability to see ability to control users' year levels has been changed. So previously year level was a plain text field on the user. It's now linked up to that year level list that we saw earlier. So it's now dropped down. So you can now only select year levels based on what is defined in that year level table. Now, it should all be linked up and there should be no worry about those users. They should all just have their year levels set on rollover. But there is something that I do want to make sure everyone takes note of. You will need to check your user provisioning system is mapping the year levels appropriately for your users after this update. Just as an example, looking at my demo data here, you're able to see that some of the year levels haven't been mapped correctly. I can go and choose what the mapping is, or I might go, oh, hang on a sec, I don't have a year level in the system for that year level to be mapped. So just be aware that that is something to be looked at after the upgrade, is that you will need to check those year levels are properly mapped between your student information system and Schoolbox. It should be okay, but I just want to make sure everyone does check that. Okay, so let's start talking about some of the new sort of features that the users might use. And the first one that I'm going to introduce you to is there's a new dashboard component called the Student Toolkit. And so once again, in the admin system, I'm going to install the Student Toolkit component and add that for my students. So here we have the Student Toolkit component. I've added it onto the middle student dashboard. It's probably more designed for junior school, but it can work in the upper years as well. And we'll have a look at what that looks like in just a minute when I come back around to the student's experience. But that's how we install that. I thought it was useful just to show you that component being added to a student class page. Let's now log in as a teacher and start with some of the teacher enhancements that we've added into the system. So I'm going to start by looking at the class page. Well, actually, let's go to the class list. So probably the big change for this release from a teacher's perspective is this ability to control a lot of functions from my class list. So previously, you sort of had to do each thing on an individual student basis, but with this update, we've added this control bar across the top. And what this does is it allows us to control these things on a class basis or a subset of our class or a single student. So I can just tick on a single student and do any one of these for a single student. So you can create any one of these combinations through this process. So I'm going to start by, let's start by setting some goals for my students. So we're going to set some goals, and using from the goals, we're actually going to be looking at the badges that we've just loaded into the system. And we're going to set some goals for my students to achieve. We're going to get them to go for level 3 ethical understanding as an example. I can actually search as well on this, so I can filter this just to the personal development category. I can also filter on curriculum codes because all of these badges are linked to the curriculum. So if I wanted to search for a particular curriculum as well, ethical understanding, I've now filtered just to the badges that relate to ethical understanding. So I can filter on a couple of different things and pull up the badges that are relevant to what I'm looking for. And I'm looking for the level 3 badges here. I'm just going to set those few as their goals. So I'm going to set ethical understanding across these students and confirm that goal set. So that's now set those goals for those students. So I've identified those are the skills that I want students to work towards. They could be, I've had obviously general capabilities there, but they could be any skills. They could be dispositions, they could be learning goals. It's up to you to create the award system that works for your particular school and set the goals that you want students to achieve. Once a student has progressed through and perhaps demonstrated that ability, I might select some of my students here that I'm going to award those achievements to. And so once again, I come back here and I search for those particular badges. And I'm now going to say that this student has achieved this and achieved this, and perhaps they went above and beyond as well for that level. And I'm going to award those achievements to those students. So now I'm locking in that I've actually seen that, and it's been demonstrated to me that those students have achieved that award. So at this point, I can actually have a look at what this is looking like for the student. So I can click on a student here, and I can see the things that have been happening with that student. I can see an activity feed of all the awards that have been set and awarded. I can see the achievements that they have so far acquired. And I can also see the goals that they still have remaining to achieve. So I can still see the things they're working towards. I'm able to actually achieve this as well from here, so I can set that to be achieved. I can also view a few other things from here. It's just all been updated a little bit, but the idea now is that we can get a better picture of this student from their profile screen, getting a more holistic picture of what this student's doing and what they're achieving from this profile screen. Moving along, we're also able to capture a pastoral record. Now, this isn't new, obviously, but probably what is new here is that I'm actually able to do a pastoral care record for the whole class. So when I do that, it's going to create a list of all the students that I'm creating the pastoral record for here at the top. And then it's just the standard pastoral record creation process. So I just go through that same process, but I've got the ability now to set that up for the whole class. Now, we've got a new feature here called learning moments. Learning moments for us is the ability to capture a moment, capture something that, some evidence perhaps of a student doing a learning activity or participating in a class activity. So this we can use to say, perhaps we take a photo or a video of the class doing something. We might want to post that to their feed. So I'm going to write a learning moment for these students. And there's a bunch of different ways we could capture that learning moment. We can take a photo, we can record a video, we can record audio, we can upload files. The other thing that we've done with these is we've built them with a mobile first concept. So if you're using a mobile device, if you've got a tablet or a mobile phone, these have been designed that if I click the take photo option, it's actually going to launch the camera application on your mobile device so that you can take that photo and it will automatically be uploaded into the system. I'm on a mobile at the moment, so it's just going to give me the ability to select from my computer. So I'm just going to go and find a sample photo. We'll just use this one. So I've got a photo here. I can write some text here. So we can add tags to this. And of course, we can also link it back to the curriculum. Now, why this is important is that, we've talked a lot about our long-term goals of being able to reference and relate back what we are doing in Schoolbox back to the curriculum. And ultimately, we want to be able to report about all of these things that are being captured, being shared, being set, and being achieved by students. We want all of that information to be collated back against the curriculum so that we can report against how well, the student has actually achieved your curriculum goals within your school. So I'll talk a bit about that a bit more later on when we talk a bit about long-term goals. Okay, so that was sharing a learning moment. We've now obviously shared that learning moment. If I go back to Jana's feed, I can now see that the learning moment has been posted into that student's activity feed in amongst the badges and other things. And there's commenting as well. So all of this is sort of building up that picture of how that student has, participated in the class, what they've done. This might be a video of them doing something in class. It could be anything that you like. And you then have this rich threaded discussion where you can have that conversation with parents, the student can all get involved in that discussion. Okay, a couple of other things. So that's sort of the big major features for teachers, but just a couple of other quick wins. We always like to have a few other nice to haves in the process. So let's just have a look at a couple of quick wins that we've added for teachers. So I'm going to create a task here for students. Now, when I get down to participation, we want to set this task for a single student. Previously, what that meant you had to do was click on all the boxes to exclude all the students except the ones that you want. We've now added a select all option. And so that will select all the students. You can now unselect the particular student you want and exclude from assessment. And what that's done is created a custom task just for this one student. So we're very quickly able to do that now with the select all option. Makes it a lot faster for teachers to create assessment tasks that are really very individualized. Next up is a new feature for assessment and the assessment workflow. And I'm going to go to a task here. And when I've got a task that has assessments that are waiting to be reviewed by a teacher, and I want to assess those tasks, I'm now able to go into the three-dot menu on the corner and start a blind review process. The blind review is going to allow us to assess these students without knowing who they are. So I'm going to get a randomized selection of students' work, and you can see at the top here, the student has been blurred out, and I have no idea whose work I'm actually marking. So we've got that ability to provide you a inline assessment workflow without identifying the individual student that you're marking. So you can do exactly the same as you would with the standard revealed inline grading process, but without knowing who the students are. It just gives that little bit of extra sort of confidence in the marking process so that there's no biases available. All right. One final thing that we've added, and I'm just going to add a news component to my class page here. When I'm posting news to anywhere in the system for that matter, not just class news, but school news, when I'm posting that article, I've now got, along with the feature image, a new attach zone here for attachments. Now this attach zone will allow me to attach a range of different files. And what it's going to do is automatically create a image gallery of those files for me. So when you're posting a news article, say for example, you've got an event, or you have a something that you want to showcase, or maybe it's just you're attaching your newsletter. That is now possible via the attach feature. So I'm just going to publish this news. And so what that's gone and done is created a news article, and you can see here it's embedded and attached those files straight into the news article. So I can see an article and see the photos directly in my news article. If I go to the detail screen for that, obviously they're there as well. I can download the attachments. So it just makes it that much easier for you to create a engaging news article with a wide variety of material attached to it. And it's as simple as just drag and drop those photos straight onto the news article. All right, let's move on to a bit about the student experience. So we've talked about how the teacher might control that I guess that badge and goal setting workflow. And when we were looking at the junior school and we were looking at the very young years, we very much envisaged that the teachers would be in control of that process, that they would be the ones setting the goals, awarding the achievements, and creating the learning moments. But as students get older, we obviously wanted to empower them to have control over that process themselves. So we built a simple feature for the dashboard called the Student Toolkit, which you saw me adding via the admin system onto the student dashboard earlier. And this component you can put on any student's dashboard, and it will provide these buttons for them. Okay, so from here, a student's able to share their learning. They're able to view their recent activity. They're able to see the achievements they've achieved, and they're also able to see their goals as well. So, or they're able to set more goals. So just going through this process, once again, we see this pop up where I can take a photo. I might like to write something. Maybe it's a reflection piece. It could be something about what they have been working on. You can use this really as like a journaling or blogging tool, as well as that evidence capture type tool. So it can serve sort of a lot of different purposes for the student. And so it's created into my activity feed, this new article. This week we did this in class. Obviously there's the commenting ability built in. And of course I can go and see the other items that have been created by my teacher as well. So it's a real collaborative space between the teacher and the student, but it is personalized. So it is just for this particular student. And although this teacher posted this to the whole class, this particular version is just for that particular student. And so the comments and things like that are for that particular student. Going back a few steps back to the student's dashboard, we have the ability to set my goals. And so as a student, I'm able to identify the things that I would like to achieve as a student. So I might browse through the badges and say, look, I want to be better at chess. And I'm going to set my ethical understanding goal as being level 4. So you can have students defining their own goals within the system as well. So they can be very much part of setting their particular learning pathway and learning journey. So now if I've set these goals, obviously they appear in my my goal area, so I can see all the goals. I can see information about what I need to do to achieve those goals, because every goal has a description. It has a rich text area where you can describe what it is that the student has to do in order to meet or achieve this goal. Of course, we wanted to make all of this very accessible to the parents as well. And so I think to wrap up, what I probably will do is I might switch to showing my my mobile phone and showing the experience as a parent on a mobile device. Because one of the things that we know with parents in particular is that they primarily access the platform via their mobile device. They're being brought in for, I guess, via notification. And so parents are fully notified of everything that's happening in the system via the notifications. You can see here when learning moments are posted, or when event goals have been set or awards have been achieved, they're all appearing there in my notification system. So parents are being fully kept in the loop about what is happening. By clicking on any of those notifications, I get to participate in that space, and I can start commenting and participate in that student's learning experience as well. So we've got the ability for parents to engage directly on their mobile phone with the student's learning at any time, of course, via the Schoolbox platform. All right, I think that pretty much wraps it up for a quick overview of the system. I'm going to hand back now to Dwayne, and
we've actually got some questions for you, James. So the first one is around badges, and the question is, can I create a badge that's not linked to the curriculum, and can I create badges that are using my own image set and own iconography?
I might just share my screen again,
Go for it.
just to talk through that.
All right, I think we may have briefly lost James here in this conversation. All right, we seem to have lost. All right, we have lost James in this conversation.
No,
so
no, I'm back.
You're back?
Yeah, sorry about that. Just managed to crash Zoom. All right, I'm back. So it was a great question. So let's just have a look at the badge creation process. It's something I skipped over. I wasn't given a lot of time to do this demo, sorry, so I didn't go into the details of badge creation. But let's just look at badge creation as a workflow. When we go to create a badge, we can set a name, a description. We also have here the choose badge image, and what we've done is we've given you a whole series of badge images that you can choose from. So you can use all of these different badges that are available by default within the platform. Or, of course, you can upload your own. We're using SVG images for our badges. We'd recommend you probably use SVG images as well, but if it can be a JPEG or a PNG as well, if you choose. So yes, you can build your own badges. Curriculum codes are optional. Categories are required, but you can define your own badge categories. So yes, you'll be able to optionally attach to curriculum codes, and then of course create new categories. You might want to create a category for particular programs you have, particular areas of the school. It's up to you how you create your own badge program. Everything I've shown you here obviously is part of our package sets, and those are up to you to choose to use. We wanted to provide some quick start, I guess, packages, but of course we fully expect schools to take badges and embrace them as their own and create their own badges for school colors, for you know, your awards programs. I've even, you know, schools have talked to me about how they want to use them for sort of different pastoral use cases, and even staff PD. So we see lots of opportunity for badges to go well beyond what I've demonstrated today. I hope this just gives you a taste of what you could do with badges, and I'm really excited to see what schools create with them.
While we're on the topic of badges, James, can we see badges by class rather than individual students?
It's another good question. At this stage, you can't. So we do have a screen for that designed, but it hasn't been implemented yet. We really did, I guess, want to get this release out to you before the start of next year so that you can get your badges up and running. And to do that, we had to make a few cuts on the features we were going to deliver. But I would say that that will be one of the first things that we deliver following it. It's basically the class list, but with the students' badges shown on the class list. So yeah, expect that very soon.
Awesome. And continuing on from that, we've got a question here from Tim Gardner. Can we do a query report on the badges? So at the end of the term, who had the most badges and such?
Not at the moment, and probably falls into the same sort of answer as that question. And also what I'm probably going to be talking about on our future roadmap. Maybe we should have done our future roadmap before we answer questions.
Look, I was going to add that to the next thing.
But yeah, so a lot of these are like, what are we going to build next? And I'm going to talk about that just on the next slide. But yeah, there's a lot of reporting things with badges that we will need to build. There's no doubt about that. Let me know what you think are the reports you need, because this is just the beginning for badges. We want to know what you need in terms of reports to make it really useful.
And look, continuing on from the question, or the mention of SVGs, I've got a question here from Tim Ambrose asking, are SVGs better supported across the platform now, or just for the icons? He's not been able to use them before for sidebar logos, news articles, and such.
Yep. SVG support just got added in a point release. I think it was 2 point releases ago. So yeah, SVG support is really new, but it is now across the board. So we have support for SVG across the entire platform now, which, you know, was perfect timing, obviously, for our badges, but it was happenstance that we added it. Also, in a recent point release, we also had a security issue with SVG images, and we've now fixed that as well. So we do scan and clear SVGs of any malicious code as well, because they can be used to break into browsers.
Awesome. I've got one last question here before we move on to what the roadmap looks like. With the parent comments on the learning moments, are teachers notified when a parent comments? And is this a platform where the parent is able to engage with the teacher around that conversation?
Yep, it's a good question. We actually haven't got a notification per comment at the moment. We have a notification on the post going up, but not on the comments. I think if that's something that people think they really need, I'm happy to add that as well. I was just worried about how noisy it might get. But yeah, we're happy to add a notification on comment as well if necessary. But having said that, if a student posts a learning moment, then the teachers will be notified that that learning moment has been posted by a student. And that works to all the teachers of that student. We have a targeting rule where we can target a notification to all teachers of a student. And so when a student posts a learning moment, it will go to all of the teachers. But if there's a follow-up comment on that, currently that's not being notified, but certainly something we might put in before the goal date.
Awesome. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you one last question, then I'm going to hijack the screen. This question kind of relates to what the screen is about to show, which is the roadmap. But can a student can we download a student's profile to include their badges, goals, and learning moments?
Yeah, I'm fully expecting this sort of to be you know, a pretty big thing, is the ability to walk away with your profile. I don't think downloading is the right solution to this, but there are a couple of solutions that I think are useful for walking away with stuff at the end of your school year. Firstly, I'd like to make a student profile screen that was permalinked and available without a login. And so basically what that would mean is that students could choose to publish their profile, and anyone would be able to go to that link and see it. And so that would be something that they could then access forever, as long as the school still had their platform. The other thing with badges that's fairly unique to badges is that there is an open badge API, and I think that being able to export the badges via the Open Badge API is probably how we'll let students walk away with their achievements at school. The nice thing about the Open Badge API is they're nice and credentialed and signed and secured. So those badges will be signed by your school as being awarded by your school. And so they'll have that authoritative stamp on them. So whether the students take them and put them wherever they want, they'll be able to showcase those badges they achieved at your school.
Fantastic. So James, can you give us a little bit of the insight into what's running through your mind at the moment around what the future looks like? Obviously, no firm commitments in this, David Howard's. This is just a sense of what we're thinking about. So if there are any questions, please throw them in there. But again, this is an idea map. This is what we're thinking about doing based on where we currently stand.
Yeah, so obviously a lot of the questions that we've had about badges already lean into that badges is only 50% done, and so we'd really like to finish what we've started with badges. So I see continuing developments happening over the next few years on badges to add more and more sophisticated reporting. Permissions are something that I think will probably come sooner rather than later. And when I say permissions, I mean the ability to control who can set or who can see badges for goal setting, and also who can award badges. And this particularly becomes important when you want to restrict badges down to particular campuses, or you may want to use badges for staff PD, and you don't want staff to be able to award themselves their own PD badges. So you may restrict PD badges down to just being able to be awarded by certain people. So badge permissions are probably a big one. And then of course, all the associated reports and searching, those enhancements and that API I mentioned. Part of the bigger picture though, as badges is just one of our 3 parts of a toolkit that we're developing towards building a whole student profile. And this is the idea that we want to build a profile that goes beyond grades. And we've always believed very strongly that grades really don't tell the full story of a student's learning. They really just a point in, a point. And for that, we want to bring together both badges, learning moments or evidence, and assessments all aligned to the curriculum. And so it's really important for us to build a better curriculum management system so that you can better control and manage your curriculum and better link your curriculum to those assets. And then finally, then be able to get out reports that tell you how a student has achieved the curriculum, their progress along particular curriculum goals or pathways. And so you can see those strands and you can see the evidence of what students have done, what they've achieved and what level they're at over time. And so that's a really big long-term goal for us, is to build that bigger picture of what a student's holistic curriculum achievement might look like, beyond just a grade or some assessment that they had done at some point in time. So that then turns to like what that might look like. We'll be working on that over this year. So that's a big, I guess, journey for us. Just quickly, popular customer requests. We're obviously looking, always looking at our online help forums for ideas and suggestions that people are putting up there. And these are just a few of the ones that we know get mentioned to us very frequently, and are the ones that we're looking at very closely in doing sooner rather than later. So, I mean, for me, probably if I was to pick 1 or 2 out of them, the LTI assessments is a big one, which will allow us to extend our assessments to third-party systems. So you'll be able to integrate third-party assessment tools into Schoolbox for the purposes of assessment. And then finally, the PDF report generator will be a tool that will allow you to take the grades page and export it from Schoolbox and have it as a walk away asset. Just like the question about the profile, can we walk away with it? We want to create a walk away with it version of the grades page. And that is, you could use for lots of different purposes, but we also see badges and things like that being integrated into that grades page over time as well. And that also, I didn't even mention, and this is a common question, will badges be linked to assessments? And I think the answer to that is certainly. At some point, we will set it up so that if you get a certain result in an assessment, you'll be automatically awarded a certain badge achievement. So that will be part of how we link those together.
Awesome. I'm going to move us along, James. I'm going to be the timekeeper on this
no
one.
Problems. I could probably go on forever.
I know, and look, there is an opportunity at the end. If you do have any other questions, we've got a brief little Q&A at the end as well, just if there's anything based on what we're about to talk about. What I am going to do is I am going to invite Kate Dumont from Taz into this conversation, and James and Kate have some exciting news for our mutual customers.
Right, thanks, Dwayne. So look, this has been something we've been working on now for quite a long time, and it's been one of those partnerships that we've had with Taz for many years. We have many customers using the Taz connector, and we've now, with the help of Taz, upgraded that connector to the latest technology from Taz, and I'll get Kate to talk a bit more about what that is from the Taz perspective. But from the Schoolbox perspective, what this means is that we'll now be able to connect to Taz via a cloud or internet connectivity. So no longer do we need to be co-located alongside the Taz system. We're now able to service whether you've got Taz Cloud or Schoolbox Cloud or both. Any configuration is now available once we unlock this new connection type. So I'd like to thank Taz and Kate for working with us to get this up and running. So this is a new connectivity between Schoolbox and Taz that replaces the old connection. The old connection will remain over the next year, but we would like to, over the next year, migrate customers onto this new platform that's built through the Taz API. So Kate, do you want to talk a bit about the Taz API and what it offers?
Yeah, I certainly can. Thanks, James. Look, it's been a really long journey, but I suppose from a Taz's perspective, we're really pumped to be collaborating with Schoolbox and working together as integration partners. So many of our customers and our joint customers would know that at Taz we feel really super strongly about data security and the integrity of the data that's held in Taz as the school administration back end. So, you know, through the Integration Partners Program and the development of our RESTful APIs to connect various systems, just like Schoolbox, it definitely allows us to deliver on that. I suppose what's really unique here with Schoolbox is that the integration is definitely one of the most extensive that we have. So it crosses over from, you know, student to parent to communication rules, subject classes, timetable, and even medical information. And this is in addition to embedding various task pages such as roll call and student profiles, which schools and customers have been able to do for quite some time. All of these connections have been very thoroughly tested by the Taz and Schoolbox team. They are certified to make 100% sure that all of the necessary data that Schoolbox needs is extracted, utilising the Taz APIs, and also that that data is consumed correctly on the other end as well. Where to from here for us? We're really looking forward to the next steps, which is the beta phase with a select number of customers throughout term one. That's going to be pretty exciting to see where that goes. Ticking off some of the final development and endpoints in the area of calendars in particular, just to tie a nice little bow around that. And then finally rolling out the integration to all of our mutual customers from term two onwards.
Another big win, which will be for our customers, is portraits. I know our customers are currently manually loading school portraits into Schoolbox. So through the API and through our partnership with Taz, we're going to be able to automate that process. So that's not going to be another big win.
Yep, fantastic.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. And thank you for that wonderful announcement. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue on. We will bring James back a little bit later. Kate, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Alrighty. So what we're going to do is move on to a bit of company news. So I'm going to introduce Grant, who is our general manager. I'm going to add him into the mix here. Grant, welcome to our webinar. I think this is the first time you're joining into one of our release webinars. So I'm going to hand it over to you to run us through some of the exciting Schoolbox announcements.
Thanks, Dwayne, and I promise not to break the system, being first time on this, first time on the webinar. Obviously, we've been really busy this year, not just supporting you, our customers, but getting fit as a company and doing things to get us ready for next year. We're sitting in a newly renovated office that we're releasing tomorrow to our staff. So that's been a really exciting thing. So we can't wait to show you the photos and have you visit our offices over the next year as restrictions lift. Just want to share with you some of the other key areas that we've been working on, and obviously we're talking to you, our community, that are already customers, but we thought it important to share some of the other areas that we're building out as a business. We've just released 2 new licenses, and that's in around our portal functionality. We heard a lot from schools not using Schoolbox over this previous year that parent communication and engagement was a big issue for them. And knowing that we've got some fantastic and market-leading communications platform, we knew that it was already there, but built into the LMS and as a whole package. And so we thought it was the right time to separate those and not just strip out the LMS functionality from what Schoolbox is, but really recreate what an incredible parent experience might be. And so we've created these 2 new licenses, the Community Portal, Community Portal Plus. We've added things like learning moments. We've added things like SSO support and user provisioning systems and other areas. So if you're talking to your networks that don't have Schoolbox, that aren't really ready yet to make the full migration, this is an incredibly great first step for schools that can encompass everything that they're using, everything in one place, engage with parents, but also as a really nice first step for schools taking on a new platform. Also wanted to, if you can just cycle through those slides. Obviously, again, super busy this year, and this is a really proud moment for us as a company to be able to start to share some other things that other plans for next year. Many of you will know that as a platform, we get inundated with requests for integration, requests for partners, because we are that platform that all users in a school arrive on and connect to other EdTech tools. It seems appropriate to integrate into Schoolbox to make that seamless experience. Now, we haven't been able to deal with that very well, purely because of the finite resources we have from an integration perspective, but also the number of third-party tools and companies that contact us. And so we've thought long and hard over this year about how we can manage that better. And we've made a stronger decision to be proactive about this, rather than be reactive and go really shallow with the integrations to serve a lot of third-party tools. We've decided to go a little bit less wide and choose the partners that we're going to prioritize our integration work with and go a lot deeper. We want to create the best customer experience possible, and we can only do that if we are quite selective with our priorities from an integration perspective. And so we've built this, what we're calling the Schoolbox Premier Partner Program. A lot more will be communicated to you next year, but we thought this is the best platform to wet the lips and get you a little bit excited about what might come. And so we plan on initial, say, dozen partners in all areas of education technology, so that we can round out an aspirational EdTech stack, so that all the majority of the EdTech tools are talking to each other and talking to Schoolbox in the best way possible. And today I really want to announce the first 4 partners that we're bringing on board in this program. Many of you, most of you won't be surprised to see Digistorm on the list. We've been very great mates for many years, and more than half our customers are Digistorm customers as well. And so we're going to continue that relationship and deepen that relationship from a technical perspective over the next year and ongoing. And we'll be excited to show you what that looks like next year. Many of you know Clipboard as a newly founded company. Sam and Ed, we've been spending a lot of time with them, getting to know them and what their business is about. I think we believe that they've created an incredible tool as that third platform, SIS, LMS, and then the EMS. And so the initial integration has been really valuable to our customers, but we think there's a lot more to do in that space. And so we welcome Clipboard on as one of our inaugural premier partners. We've been inundated for the last sort of 18 months from our customer base and non-customers as well, asking us whether we've got or can integrate with Turnitin. And that's something that we're very close to finalising in terms of some contractual arrangements. But we welcome Turnitin to our partner program because there's a lot of great news to share with you with our plans with them for next year. And last but certainly not least, in this initial step, we will be introducing GeoSnapshot to you as a community next year. GeoSnapshot is a photo sharing and a photo storage system and service that uses facial recognition to identify and manage those that are in photos. And so we are super excited about the experience that we're creating with the partnership with GeoSnapshot. There's going to be some world first integration that we're building together over next year. That's going to be something that's going to deliver huge value that I think for our school community will be an absolute no-brainer to adopt next year. More will be found out and shared next year. When you return for your preparation for 2021, you'll have some more information sitting on your desktop about what that looks like and what some of the user experiences that we want to create. From my team and from everyone else, we wish you an incredible break, and I'm sure Dwayne's going to expand on that. But what a year! Congratulations to everyone, and this time of year signifies even greater time to rest and recoup for next year. Dwayne, I'll hand it back over to you, and thank you for being part of our webinar.
Thank you very much, Grant. Thank you for that amazing news. So we've got a few more little questions here that have popped up. So I'm going to bring James back into the fold. He's got 2 minutes to smash through 3 rather curly questions. James, have you got them there in front of you? You're muted at the moment, just as you usually do.
I thought you were going to bring me back in. I'll just quickly go through them. Jared asks, are there any plans to extend the LTI into teams so that when Schoolbox class is made, it makes a class team as well? I believe that Microsoft is working on this. When we did the Teams integration in the middle of the year during COVID, I actually had a really great discussion with them. They brought me into a chat with their engineers in San Fran. We actually talked about LTI and what their plans were. They said it would be sort of an end of the year sort of delivery. I still haven't seen anything about that recently. I know that Canvas did a press release on it recently, so I think it's probably imminent. We'll probably hear more from Microsoft. And of course, when that comes out, we'll test it and get it working and make sure it's all good. So yeah, I fully anticipate that will be part of our integration piece as well. And just on that more generally, I think, and I don't know, I've only got 2 minutes, Dwayne, but you know, during COVID, we had this sort of situation where we lost the classroom, and Schoolbox has never replaced the classroom. It's always been a classroom enhancer and not a classroom replacement. We always recognize that there is that room for that style of learning that only can happen in that sort of real-time space. And so when the classroom shut down, we saw this big growth of tools like Zoom, Teams, you know, there's a whole bunch of them that we sort of worked with to try and integrate as quickly as possible. And we still think that that's the right way for us to go. We won't go into that space of real-time classrooms. We'll just support the products that do it well. You know, we're never going to be Zoom or a tool like that. So we'll just make them work as best we can inside our product and try and enhance that experience and make sure that you can leverage those spaces inside from and within Schoolbox.
You really are terrible with that time, aren't you? Like you
Yeah,
just
sorry.
split your 2 minutes on a single question. I'll give
right,
you another
moving-
2 for the last 2.
All right, Tim asks, what version of Taz do we need to be on for the updated APIs? I believe that Taz version 53 is the correct version. I don't know if Kate's still around. She'll probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe
no, that sounds about right, James.
Yeah, yeah, it's version 53. So that's what you need to be on. Can I just say on that as well, any school that has upgraded to version 53 and hasn't upgraded their Schoolbox, please do, because only the latest version of Schoolbox supports the latest version of Taz. And so if you're updating your Taz before you're updating your Schoolbox, you could be causing things to break. Finally, Jared asks, is a Schoolbox community portal seen as a replacement to the synergetic parent portal? No, I think the simple answer is no. The longer answer is the synergetic parent portal serves some other purposes, such as updating medical data and contact information, accessing billing information. And that's the type of thing that we would never do inside Schoolbox. We believe that is the SIS's responsibility. So Schoolbox as a portal is sort of your comms, your communication place, you know, the place where people would go to find out more about your school. But the parent portal in Synergetic, and same goes for Taz for that matter as well. Taz also has a similar function. They have their own specific tool set designed for parents to get access to information, update information, and Schoolbox will never replace those. We will just be a gateway or a doorway for those tools. So we would expect that you would link from Schoolbox into the SIS's portal product directly from Schoolbox.
Awesome. Thank you very much, James. And thank you very much to our amazing development team that has put so much effort into getting this release underway. So just to wrap up this fantastic webinar. So what we're going to do is, obviously, as mentioned, we are looking at releasing the beta of Schoolbox tomorrow with an expected goal release of end of January. So to give you just a little bit of other information, so the Schoolbox support desk will be closed as of 2 o'clock tomorrow. So if you do have any urgent requests, any emergency requests, please make sure you contact our emergency line. We'll have very little access. If you want to see the release notes, an email will be sent out in regards to them, but they're also available on Schoolbox Help. So please check out the release notes. If you've got any other questions, please let us know. Thank you very much for your attendance today. Thank you very much, James, for your wonderful run through of 20.2, and we'll see you all next time.